this is Erin's, and I'm going to show you what happens to your glass pieces when you send them up to me at the high school. Step one is we have to make sure that the kiln furniture is prepared, because the surface needs to be perfectly smooth, otherwise the bottom of your glass pieces will be a mess. So I'm going to show you here really quick. Alright, so there's my kiln shelf. I also have a package of ready mixed kiln wash. This is just a mixture of different types of stones that can be used in that high heat in the kiln, because you know the kiln's going to get to be thousands of degrees, so we can't just use paint primer, it would just burn right off. So here I have it mixed with water, nice and watery in a bucket here, and then I can just spread a thin coat of that over all these broken surfaces and cracks, and that'll fill in all the cracks nice and smooth to create a new surface for your glass pieces. So there it is. Alright. So let's go ahead and move over to the kiln, because this has to dry for a couple of hours, so I already have some ready to go when I loaded them into the kiln over here. My room's a little messy today. Alright, so here I arranged your plates, and I put numbers on them so that I would kind of get an idea of how they would be arranged in the kiln. Because I can't put any markers in the kiln, again, it's going to be like 1,000 degrees in there, so if I tried to mark names on these things, they would just burn off. So here I have my last plate. I've marked it number 9, so I know it's in position 9 in the kiln. So let's go ahead and walk back here. You can see we got a trusty fire extinguisher. That's a good thing to have in case something terrible happens. We've got pieces that are waiting to go into the kiln. And then here we have all the furniture that I used to put the shelves in. Again, these are going to have to withstand temperatures over 1,000 degrees. So this is actually made out of the same ceramic that the nose of the space shuttle is made out of to survive re-entry into the atmosphere. So these are really tough bricks, and they can get really red hot and it won't affect them. Most bricks, like red bricks you'd see like on a patio or in a building, they would just melt in this kiln into a big red puddle. So there's the kiln, and then you can kind of see here is, I have a digital kiln, so I'm kind of a cheater, but you have to have a digital kiln to do glass. And then here's inside the kiln. I've got all those pieces laid out, so here I'm going to add these pieces into the number 9 position. There's actually a whole nother shelf underneath this shelf. If you don't see your pieces, that's where they are, is underneath this shelf. Now you can see inside the kiln that they have what's called coils, and electricity is going to run through these coils and get to red hot. You can also see that little knob sticking out there. That reads into the thermometer so that the computer can tell how hot the kiln is. So we're all loaded and ready to go, so I'll set this plate aside. We never want to leave anything flammable near the kiln. The heat coming off of it could burst something into flames. See, it's pretty well insulated. Again, that's the stone on the space shuttle, so it's going to keep the heat mostly inside, but I definitely don't want to set anything on top. So then what I need to do is come over here, and I have my exhaust fan, so we'll turn that on. Okay, so now we've got that kiln exhaust running, so that way any dangerous fumes that come off the glass from, you know, the glue melting away and different chemicals burning off, those will all be vented safely outside, or hopefully that's the plan. So now I have to program the kiln to do the melting for me. Alright, so here we go. Here's my digital kiln keypad, and I can see number 4 is a ramp hold. A cone fire is a regular fire, and this is going to fire it as fast as it can. So if I did my glass that way, it would crack. So instead I want to do a ramp hold. A ramp hold does what's called soaking, which means it brings the temperature up to a certain degree and then holds it there for a certain amount of time, and that lets the glass settle. It lets the molecules kind of arrange themselves the way they need to be so that they're nice and strong, and then they won't crack. So we're going to bring the temperature up to 300 degrees, let it rest for 20 minutes. Bring the temperature to something higher, let it rest for a little bit, and that's called a ramp hold. So we're going to choose ramp hold. User 1, I already have a program set, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through that program. It's got a preheat set, it's got a temperature it needs to reach, ramp hold, so it's going to wait 20 minutes before it ever raises the temperature. and all of these different programs. And I keep hitting the button until I get all the way through the program, because I know it's right. I've used it many times. And then once I get through the whole program, it tells me that it's started and it's ready to go. So this should fire for about 6 hours, and then it's going to need an equivalent 6 hours to cool. And I need to let it cool by itself, so if I crack the lid, it's going to let cold air rush in, and it's going to crack my glass. So I just need to be very patient. So tomorrow morning, we'll have this glass ready for you. We'll get it wrapped up and sent down with Mrs. King, hopefully, and you'll be able to see your glass pieces. So if you have any questions, you can let Mrs. Van Fleet know, and she will email me, and I can answer those questions. But hopefully you'll do more glass in the future, because it's really fun.